Hey, everybody, here we go. All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The World of Ability. I am Emily, one of your co-hosts today, along with Kurt Reskoff. World of Ability was started a couple of years ago on July 26, 2020. And is kind of based on the whole disability advocacy. I guess we have Sylvia Stockton with us today. So over to you, Kurt.
All right, thank you, Emily, and thank you, Sylvia, for joining us today. I'm Kurt Reskoff, co-hosting here and bringing into the realm of disability advocacy some original points, some additional considerations, and aiming to help the world of disability become more well-rounded and to make this the business for everyone, everybody. For me, I consider this an all hands on deck initiative here. We're in consideration of people with disabilities around the world, which I give credit to 2 billion people around the world that I factor in to be who I am leaning on to teach me more of how the world needs to more so work. And so that leaves 6 billion of us are on the docket as far as I'm concerned. That's my call to action. I'm calling for 6 billion people around the world to look to human evolution and to figure out how we can close this gap of segregation and isolation and lack of fashion and formation that really gets more involvement by the people around the world with disabilities. So when you break it down a little bit, I use a conversation starter to think of people around you that are people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, the deaf community, blind community, people with physical disabilities, those living chronic pain, everyone with a mental health diagnosis, and those that have a goal of substance use reduction. And, and I point out here in the US, the Americans with Disabilities Act includes protection for those with chemical sensitivities, sensitive to perfumes and the stuff that they put in some deodorants and so forth. And, so the fragrances, and then also EMF waves, with this high tech world we live in, a lot of people are suppressed in energy with those electromagnetic fields and what I might say is pollution out there in the air we breathe. So, with that, we have Sylvia here now. I guess one thing I'm going to go right ahead and get out in the forefront. I don't know if I want to call it an elephant in the room, but, maybe a little bit of a taboo subject. But, when we think of it in terms of memory and Alzheimer's and dementia and so forth, in my time in life, I've, been in interactions with jokes told about the issue of memory loss, jokes like, when you have that memory loss, it's not all bad because you get to hide your own Easter baskets and stuff like this. So, and I was an EMT for over 10 years. And I guess in the world around me, I don't want to claim to speak for the whole world or in any broad sense, but I've experienced in my life and my journey how many of us use maybe, a little crude humor and, reach to, the opposite side of the issue because when we're dealing with catastrophes sometime or we're dealing with things that, can really be sad and challenging, we reached a coping mechanism. So in this is the value here. When we really get to discussing it and getting it to the refined elements, there can be a lot of empowerment in understanding a little bit more those that are serving issues of memory loss, dementia, Alzheimer's, things like this, like Sylvia's committed to, we can really learn how we can address these, intimate things, these ongoing things, things of a caregiver, where there's issues of respite. How much are we giving caregivers respite? Because it can be hard work. But then as you visit with Sylvia, she has this art form to keep the things to celebrate and the opportunity you have in being a caregiver. So we're also joined here by Mark here, who's who I call one of our Shackalites from the Shakedown, based out of Madison, Wisconsin. Our captain, Jim Turk, he got us going with the Shakedown format, 15 minutes of music in motion. And then we have a little social time after on Zoom. And Emily is every day putting her rendition of the Shakedown on our 12 o'clock Shakedown page. Again, out of Madison, that gives us the Central Time reference. So at 12 o'clock Central every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, we're on Zoom and live streaming and giving everybody the opportunity for Shakedown, 15 minutes of music in motion and social time to follow if you're on the Zoom connection. So thanks for joining us, Mark. He's got some points that he's got ready to go off of his virtual background. But before we get to Mark, I'm going to let Sylvia talk a little bit. Sylvia, help us start at the beginning. Think about your life and how you were, exposed to memory loss at all, if at all, early in life, midlife, and as you're in the journey, and then, then you got close to dementia, and this inspired you in your journey, being close to dementia and learning about it firsthand as a caregiver. Talk us through that point where you got inspired to make this a work piece here, that you're sharing all this service and insight on the professional side of things. So take it away, Sylvia. Tell us your story.
Yeah, I go back and I've had an amazing nursing career. Much of it was around community nursing. I did near enough 10 years in the community, and it's in that environment that you do come across families that are dealing with loved ones who've got memory loss issues, etc. And you find that people are not really coping with it in a way that best serves the person that's either got Alzheimer's or some form of dementia. Also, I have managed a care home in my time, and that was very interesting. And again, full on dementia with some of the residents, and trying to help the relatives to best cope with that journey of adjusting to the changes. I have actually heard just recently of somebody whose his wife actually has got dementia. He is her third husband. Sadly, her other two husbands died of cancer. And when he goes to visit her, in her head, she's thinking of the husband before him. Where's Ken, she says. And understandably, that's very difficult for him. Now, with all my own background and everything, it was very interesting, as well as being an accredited master coach and working with mental health and other things. Suddenly, Sylvia's the other side of the fence. And it's quite a different thing when you're going through that yourself. And realizing that the person that you love dearly is quietly disappearing before your eyes. Now, in the earlier stages, thinking of what you were saying just now, Kurt, the understanding of the general public of how to deal with somebody who's maybe got dementia and Alzheimer's. Say, for example, you're going shopping, and they're going to really take their time, because they won't let you take the money out their wallet for them, because I haven't got a problem is in their head. I do this. And finding a way to very subtly get the person who's serving you understand that they have a challenge. I used to whisper when he turned away to stick his head in his wallet to try and find some money and just say, he's got young onset Alzheimer's. And then you would notice a difference in the whole queue of customers from, oh, for goodness sake, hurry up. They would then understand, but there is a lack of understanding. And linking with the fact that here we are looking at disability, I do feel that there should, I agree with you, Kurt, there should be much more acceptance and involvement in the disability arena, and not immediately thinking that person is different, or like you said, people make jokes. Usually I say that if somebody's joking about something, that's covering up their own fear of what might happen with them. But when I was on the journey with Brian, it was a total journey of acknowledging what's going on in the moment and accepting that that isn't going to change in that moment, and adjusting. And like with anything in life, we're having to acknowledge what's going on if things aren't going well on a day, and then accept that, well, if that's what it is, how do I best deal with it? And then adjust to that day. And that's what it's like when you're dealing with dementias and Alzheimer's. Because for me, it's not their inner personality, it's their brain cells that have gone awry. I used to say to my Brian, it's not you, it's your naughty neurons. And I had a plan. I was going to do it all at home. I've been a nurse, I've run a care home, I'm a master coach. And I do happen to have a deep personal faith. And I thought I'd do it all my way. Shock horror, it didn't quite work out like that. And I had to adjust 24/7 care. And then one can feel guilty that you've done that. But you have to trundle through that. And what I then wanted to do was find a way to turn all this stuff into something where I could help other carers. Like anything in life, I believe there's two questions that we can ask. One is, why has this happened to me? And immediately we become 100% a victim to whatever's going on. Or the other question is, how do I get through this? And I chose the how question. And from that, I developed something called Dementia Whisperer, and I've written 3 books, a 4th on the way, the Rocky Road trilogy, and have online support services, an opportunity for one-to-ones with people. And I've got my own YouTube channel going now. You see, for me, somehow, although it's a dreadful experience journeying with somebody with Alzheimer's, it's far from easy. You do mess up, and I made some amazing mess ups with like going on holiday and stuff. I messed up big time, learned from it, and I really want to help others if they mess up in life, or particularly if they're caring for somebody in the dementia arena. Sylvia's passion is, let's help them deal with this, deal with their emotionals, because it's like riding an emotional roller coaster. And I feel for anybody who's got links to, works with, or a loved one, a child who is in what we call the disability spectrum, but my golly, sometimes they give so much and they're undervalued. And one of the best things that I've done in my life is work with an after-school club called Interact for mainstream and learning disability children. And that really taught me so much. And to hear parents of really quite badly challenged children say, you know, Sylvia, I wouldn't change things. They give so much love and we have such fun. So, yeah, it's not easy in the dementia spectrum or mental health if you're dealing with that. But I would just say you have 2 questions. Why? And become a victim. And I'm going to be straight up here and say full of self-pity. Or you can ask what, not why, but how do I get through this? How do I cope with this? And find ways to make some good and some joy out of an experience that might seem pretty awful. So, you know, Kurt, I just feel we need to value people that are in that label because they give so much.
You bet. Again, thanks for being here. We're gonna keep exploring what you just said, and what a wonderful wrap up of kind of what we can consider, and finishing up there, taking me to the point of stigma, in terms of those going through dementia, the little bit of the stigmatizing that goes on, that our journey is to find ways that society and community and the way the world works, that people with dementia can be more involved in everything available around, and it just be dementia friendly. Here local to me, and across the US, there's a lot of dementia friendly initiatives going on to help Main Street areas, marketplaces, Madison streets of cities, helping the stores and everything, taking consideration what happens when you have a shopper that is caring for someone with dementia, and kind of what's helpful for their shopping experience, as an example. So
we do have dementia friendly over here. Sorry to butt in. We do have dementia friendly, and towns are doing their best to be more dementia friendly. Even a little thing like when you go into a shop, don't have a black mat at the door because they'll think it's a hole and won't go in. Little things that they're doing now for people over here as well.
Excellent. So Mark, I want to give you an opportunity to start in. We'll get into what's on your background and shakedown and stuff. But Mark, you've been hearing a lot about Sylvia's work, and a little snippet of her life journey, and this topic of memory loss, dementia, Alzheimer's, and the whole gambit of it all. Mark, what is your experience in your life journey? Where does this fit into what you had in your life and people close to you?
Well, my father had Alzheimer's for 13 years before he passed away. And my mother took care of him. She was a little younger than him, 6 years. She did quite a job taking care of him. Also, my sister and her husband live right across the street, and they were a big help too. But he was able to stay at home until the final 5 years, and it just got to be too much for my mother. She was 8 years older than herself, and we put him in a home, and the first one was not good, but we put him into a facility with less patients, and they took very good care of him, and we were quite pleased then. But yeah, it's a horrible affliction, and kind of what Sylvia alluded to. It's somewhat like the saying goes, it's hard on everyone except for the person who has it. They don't realize that, oftentimes anyway, that they have an issue. And I would say I've had, aunts and uncles with it too. And I think we were lucky in the way that my father never became combative like I've heard others do. When, we told him it was time to quit driving, he accepted it. And even before, when he was diagnosed and it wasn't bad yet, he decided that my mother should start driving more because she was going to have to drive, assuming in the future he couldn't. So that part was not difficult for us. And I don't know, he was always just kind of laid back and accepted, what people were doing for him. Now, a couple of my aunts, they became very combative, and of course their families had it more difficult. Yeah, I know where Sylvia's coming from. The caregivers didn't always have it easy, especially on weekends. Some other caregivers didn't show up, or when they quit, no advance notice, no call in. They just didn't come to work one day. And in the future, and of course, the caregivers that were there were burdened with having to pick up their duties too, with no advance warning. So there's a lot of difficult issues to deal with that until you have someone close to you who goes through it, you would never think of.
There you go. So what came to mind as you were hearing all that, Sylvia? I'm taking a guess that with what you're doing and your intention to serve this issue and speak to living with this life circumstance of someone in your house or family going through the experience of dementia, what did you pick up on from what Mark was sharing?
Interesting that he's got two different issues here, really. One where somebody fully accepted and was very good about giving up driving, which my lovely Brian wasn't. That was what how different it is. I always say that the journey is unique. I do understand the challenges with having caregivers coming in the house. It's the same over here. And I was going to go that route, but Brian was not having anybody coming into the house. And as we're live streaming this, we won't talk about how he expressed himself. But what was interesting and can be, I've observed through the years of visiting in the care home as well, is that sometimes with some folks with Alzheimer's, somewhere in the back of their head, they know that they're not right. And to me, that's tragic. That is something difficult to deal with, because even in the latter stages, I'd be visiting my husband, and by then his visual part of his brain had gone, but he would just turn to me and he would say, "Why?" And I used to think, oh my, he knows he's not right. So there's so many different facets to the dementias and Alzheimer's. And you're absolutely right, Mark. You can't get to grips with it until you have it come in your inner circle. And then, my golly, you get what it's about. And I always say that if you're going to have care at home with it, you've got to have carers coming in that will build a relationship with the person who's got Alzheimer's or dementia, because it is all about relationships and being able to get to know them. This is how they're good at this in the care home. They get to know them. They know their little triggers if they're going to be difficult, and how to divert them so that they have a good day. And the other thing too is you were talking about these music sessions. Music is so key. They love music. Brian used to love, he was a folk singer and a barn dance man. He loved all the music and everything. And I think for the carers, the challenge is living your life with them, but you've got to be in their world wherever they are in that moment. Don't try and put them right. If they think you're Aunt Gladys and not who you are, don't say, oh, don't be ridiculous. That's not true. We really, it's that adjustment of where they are all the time and avoiding burnout for carers. That's what I want to do. I want them to learn from what I learned through mistakes, avoid burnout, because there's a Dr. Gemma Jones over here, an ex-psychiatric nurse and psychologist, etc. And she says that she believes in care homes, if you find the right one, because they get social interaction and they get activities offered and they have a lovely time. And after 18 months in the care home, my lovely Brian actually said to me one day, do you know, I'm very happy here, which was a sigh of relief for me because I knew then I could just have quality visiting times. There's so many dimensions to it, but it can be done in a way that serves the person who's diagnosed best and serves the carer best, so they don't have burnout. Because obviously there were challenges with your family, Mark, and you said that your mum got to a point, or your dad, whichever one it was, where they couldn't cope anymore. And we have to sometimes step back and think, should I make a decision about where they're cared for at this juncture, rather than get to the point where you're desperate? But it is an interesting journey. And I often say that if you're going to have any form of memory loss, one of the worst journeys to take is Alzheimer's. With a lot of other dementias, you can just slip quietly into another world. Alzheimer's, it's very different. Because they think they can do things, but they can't. And how to get around that is very interesting. You were fortunate, Mark, that he understood he wouldn't be able to drive. My man, it took him running into the back of a bus to stop him driving. So that's a few other snippets from me, Kurt, on it.
Yep, very good. Yeah, you got me thinking of, I heard scenarios of, people with Alzheimer's or dementia in kitchens, and they're going about preparing a meal, and then they lose track of what they all got going on, and they got the burner going, and next thing you know, there's an injury, burn. They become a burn victim, losing track of what's going on, or maybe property damage because things are going up in flames, or just ruining food with, just burning to a crisp whatever was in the pan over the burner because they just totally forgot about it, went about their business elsewhere. And, later on, somebody else from the family comes home and sees the burners going. You got a big black blob of,
That's it.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, a constant thing, no break from it. And, I hear responses that people are working hard to put technology out into the marketplace because people fear losing their loved ones, like in a missing persons fashion. Like, where is mom or dad, or, where is my friend or whatever. So ways to have GPS at play, that if nobody knows where they are, that technology device is there to put right on the grid where to go find them and go take care of them if they wandered off. I'm a water skier, and one of our water skiing friends was taking care of his mom, during one of our water ski events. And then he came back to make sure mom was okay, and she was nowhere to be found. So he took the next 10 minutes to go out looking for her. And luckily within 10 minutes, he found her. But it's kind of that moment, like, how bad of an issue or a situation do we have here? And for that 10 minutes, I mean, obviously it's pretty nerve wracking. Like, how am I going to find mom? And so yeah, all sorts of things in this. So Mark, anything else on your end in terms of this topic, whether it be on the memory side of things or on the side of it with the caregiver challenge? Anything else for you, Mark?
Well, I think between me and Sylvia, we've covered a lot. Yeah, I'm sorry that Brian had to have an accident before he realized it was time to quit driving. But yeah, unfortunately, some victims of dementia and Alzheimer's, they can become very stubborn. And I think you are right. Sometimes in the back of their mind, they realize something is wrong, but accepting it is hard for them. And they try to convince themselves they can still do things. One thing, I guess my father had open heart surgery maybe 2 years after he was diagnosed. And well, we were warned that generally anesthesia used in operations like that has been known to really accelerate Alzheimer's. And that definitely happened with him. And thinking back on it, maybe the fact that he has suddenly advanced so quickly, maybe he got kind of beyond the point of, slowly realizing something was happening and wanting to hang on. It may have advanced quickly enough that, he almost bypassed that stage. But as Sylvia said, it's a unique journey for every case. There's a lot of things that are the same, but there's a lot of unique differences in each case also.
Yeah, my grandma had Alzheimer's, and she would have a couple of things that she would always like repeat. All right, so like on a repeat thing. So there are differences for sure.
I'd like to pick on when you said that word stubborn, Mark. That described my husband to a T on his journey. He thought he could still mow the grass. And the only way to deal with that was to move all the pots out the front, out the way, give him 2 seconds to start. And then I would ask her, I'd say, hey, darling, can I have a play with the lawnmower for a minute? And that solved that. But if I'd have said to him, actually, Brian, do you think I should start mowing the grass now? Because, you seem to struggle with it. That would have been totally the wrong thing. He would have gone off on one. And then for losing them, he was very good when we went shopping at disappearing. He did have a favourite green jacket he liked to wear, a zipper, which was quite useful because you could see him. And he'd disappear, and I'd have to say to people in the shop, have you seen a man in a green jacket? And then eventually I'd spy him. Oh, there you are, I'd say, I've been looking for you. And he would cover up. This is the early stages, they can cover up. He'd say, oh, well, I was just browsing. He wasn't, he was lost. And then if we would go on a motorway journey and you've got to go to the loo. And one time, he came out, and eventually I had to get security to help find him. He was way around the back of the service station, and he was very angry with me when we found him. So you've got to be prepared for anything to happen at any time. And also, I do say, as much as things hurt, you've got to find a sense of humor somewhere about things. You know, you've got to be able to have a sense of humor when they've disappeared in a big service station on the motorway and you're thinking, oh my golly, where is he? So, yeah, my husband was definitely a stubborn one.
Okay. So Mark, our friend Jim Turk, he he shared kind of a great part of his life with us, and in part of Jim's work, he's gone to senior centers and memory care units and so forth. Do you want to share for our audience here with our friend Jim and what he's done with his drum circles and all that? Do you want to share a little bit more about our friend Jim and what he's done to be of service with his musical talents and everything else?
Well, yeah, he runs drum circles. He was a drummer himself and kind of kept up with it after he became afflicted with multiple sclerosis. And he goes around to a lot of nursing home memory care facilities to do these drum circles. And the biggest part of what it does for the people is keep them engaged. And that is a huge part of, I think, caregiving with Alzheimer's. Try and keep them engaged instead of letting them sit there, just, I guess, staring into space. Even if they don't understand, if you're trying to keep them engaged, they will, try to figure things out a bit, and it will hold their attention. So I think what Jim does is beneficial. And when my father was in the memory care facility, they had people come and entertain. Some people played piano or guitar and sang. And well, my own nephew was pretty good at playing the piano. He would, they had a piano there, and when we visited, he would occasionally play the piano for the people. And, not all of them, but some of them, they seemed to like it. And when he played, for instance, older religious songs, many of them recalled the words, and they would sing along to those songs because they heard them in their churches. And it at least engaged them in something and added, a little bit to their life where they, wouldn't get much out of life at all if there wasn't something to occasionally stimulate them a bit and engage them.
There you go. Good stuff. So Sylvia, you have more in, what you're looking to deliver for folks out there coming to deal with this and, in the world of things, and what Mark just said about our friend Jim and, like the therapeutic side of things. Do you have much to speak to on this part of, where that can help folks dealing with dementia?
Yeah, because I literally decided I'd turn my passion into a purpose, because I really feel for the carers and their emotions they're trying to deal with and struggle with the whole journey. So I've written a trilogy of books, The Rocky Road and Naughty Neurons. That's the early stage of our journey, but interspersed with some tips to help others That particular book, I was blessed. A lady said to me, on a bad day, Sylvia, I pick up your book and read a bit and then I can keep going. And I thought, how lovely is that? And then when he was in the care home, some of that journey I've put in the book, The Rocky Road of 24/7 Care. And then the third one of the trilogy is The Rocky Road to Peace and Purpose, which is about the latter stages and dealing with that, and the early grieving stages, all interspersed with little snippets to encourage and help the carer with their journey. Because you know, and over here locally, I still volunteer at the care home my husband was in. It was amazing. I'm part of the family now. And so being able to go in just once a week and give people a listening ear if they're struggling. I'll even take them out for a cup of tea in the local garden centre. But so I just want to offer people some care through my books. I have written a fourth one this year, The Rocky Road to Peace of Mind, which is really for those that have got ongoing grief. It could be for anybody really, not just the dementias, to help people understand a bit more about making a new life for yourself. And all the books also are to help people deal with the adjustment on this journey, because no moment can be the same, never mind a day, and how you deal with the nights when they're awake all night. We call it sundowning over here. And I just want, through my tools, Dementia Whisperer, have a website, dementiawhisperer.com, and I have a YouTube channel. And I just really am passionate about helping people. And all the support tools, apart from the books I offer, are online, because if you're caring, you haven't got time. Well, you can't just pop out to a coffee morning. Where would they be when you came back? Or what would they have been up to? So I just really want to support carers. And being online, it means anybody who speaks English anywhere can tap in. I'm absolutely passionate about it, because I think we need more what I call down-to-earth support. Now, I'm going to be totally honest and upfront here. I know you can do an amazing training, which helps. It's very essential. And you can have a degree in dementia, and that's awesome. But you need alongside that experience. That, to me, experience in life is one of the best teachers that we've got. And I just want to help people.
Awesome. That is so great, Sylvia. Thanks for everything you do. It's so great to see your passion and how you're purpose driven, and just getting a sense, at least initially, the benefit, you're bringing to other people. Mark, I want to get an opportunity in here before time runs out on us. I mentioned about Shakedown. We brought up about Jim. I purposefully, brought up Jim's name because I kind of want to see if you'll do me the favor here, Mark, and do the honors of kind of bridging how, with what we said about Jim and what he does with those drum circles and the story of his, that we carry on with the Shakedown. You want to do the honors, Mark, and tell the story? How do we go from drum circle to Shakedown?
Well, he also started the 12 o'clock Shakedown. I guess I'm not quite sure how it started, but he, as he became, more affected by MS, he realized that movement, exercise and movement was beneficial. And he started the Shakedown basically to do 15 minutes of movement and motion to music. And he picked up a few other people with MS, and it's been a while. I don't quite remember how I became acquainted with it, maybe just in talking with him. But I have a spinal cord injury, and there is another person with a couple of people with spinal cord injuries that participate occasionally. It's it's good for us too. So people with any type of disabilities can get 15 minutes of exercise with a Zoom group, and of course we have a chat session afterwards, and good social interaction. And I think you kind of become not only friends, but almost a little bit of a family too.
Yeah, so Mark, if you can keep going for just a little bit more, you're right at the cusp of the segue to, you said, the social time or chat after the chat session, and you bring for us on a daily basis, that pictorial composition of the day and giving us reasons to celebrate and what to do and eat. And so you have today's example of what you bring to us that we highlight at the end of after our 50 minutes of music and motion before we drop off of Facebook Live. You're explaining, you did that earlier today, but we talked about doing our second rendition of it for today. You're at World of Abilities. So Mark, you willing to do it to it and tell us what is all that you have behind you?
Oh, well, the three people are entertainers or people in music. I kind of started doing that, showing just some iTunes album covers I had, and people would guess who they were. And I don't know, people kind of seemed to like it. So I continued doing it. And then as the year rolls around, instead of just putting up the same old thing, I kind of shifted in some weird inventions or things like that. Then now I've switched to, there seems to be a national day for everything. So I kind of did that as a little bit something different. But I still put up, photos of people who have birthdays on that day that were in the music industry, since Jim's Shakedown group was all about moving to music. Today I have Tina Turner and Robert Goulet and Jim McVie from Fleetwood Mac. They all have birthdays today. And, again, I continue doing it. People seem to like it. So I just kept doing it. It kind of brings up a little topic for conversation, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're always looking forward to it, Mark, every day. I know I enjoy it. And so, yeah, Emily helps us conduct a photo session to make sure we capture it for social media every day. Emily, what do you got?
It's just saying that I've enjoyed it too. It took me a little bit to get. Kurt was the one that kind of introduced me to the Shakedown. It kind of took me a little bit to join them because Jim kind of dresses up in a sense, like puts on like a sideways hat or has a tie or whatever. But once I started going, it's been great. And then when Mark started doing his backgrounds, that made it even better. So I wanted to thank Mark for doing that, and Jim for starting the Shakedown in the first place.
There you go, right on the coattails of Thanksgiving. We are thankful. So, Sylvia, what do you think? Are we going to be seeing you at the Shakedown event, during our lunchtime, your dinner time? What do you think, Sylvia?
Who knows? Because lunchtime for you is feasible here in the UK. Lunchtime for you is probably, it might be just early evening. Yeah, I'd love to come on and see what that's all about. Power of music.
Yeah. So, Emily, if you could do the favor of making sure that Sylvia has the information she needs to join us. It sounds like we got a good thing going here. Sylvia, what else, with your anticipation with being on the show today? What else were you thinking about, since we talked about you coming on and now you're on, and maybe earlier today? I want to make sure you have the opportunity to share with our audience everything you have, and maybe even some more references on, if you really captured them on, boy, this is really helpful, with someone's friend or themselves or a loved one. What else would you like to share today?
Yeah, sure. I will tell people how they can get a hold of me, because my author name and the name that's on my YouTube channel and stuff is Sylvia Bryden-Stock, because the first book I wrote had my maiden name in it. So I'm really Sylvia Bryden-Stock. And the website, if people want to make contact, is dementia-whisperer.com, and you can browse there. And if you want to go specifically to find the books, then it's dementia-whisperer.com/publications. And at the moment I have a sale on books and things on the website, and I'd love to do a one-to-one with anybody, because this is the power of Zoom. Time difference doesn't make any difference really, as long as we work out the zones. I'm happy to give somebody a free half an hour's listening. I have got little mini coaching courses on there for when you're in a crisis, and then one of them is for people who've got a crisis with anything in life. You don't have to have Alzheimer's, dementia. So there's lots of tools and free downloads and stuff on dementia-whisperer.com, and I'd be more than happy to join you guys and come on other times, maybe just share a little story and how I had to deal with it to help people. More than happy to come on and let people know that you've got to be prepared to mess up. I can tell you, but the music thing in the home, and you can get people to exercise even if they're in the chairs. And if you've got some wacky music going, like Tina Turner and some of the rock and roll stars, they're up for it. And there's a story of a lady, when you were saying, Mark, about them singing hymns or whatever. There was a lady in a care home that really, she didn't speak at all, but they had somebody come in and do a service, and they sang "The Lord's My Shepherd." She suddenly sang that right the way through. The power of tapping in to music that brings memory, and then suddenly they're alive. People may not speak, but they'll sing. I've loved being on here with you all, and would be more than happy to come on again.
You're welcome to join us anytime you like, Sylvia. There goes Mark too. But yeah, you guys are welcome to come on any Saturday.
It's amazing what you're doing. I think it's great to have something like this that goes out regularly, because it brings comfort and encouragement to people as well, to keep on keeping on no matter what.
Yeah.
There you go. So we're going to keep this going here. This is going to be the final minutes of this year episode of the World of Ability podcast show. And so this is the wind up minutes that we're going to call OMG EMG, EMG being Emily's initials, Emily M. So Emily, take it away. Guide us through the final few minutes of World of Ability. Take it away.
Okay, so I wanted to thank Sylvia and Mark for coming on today. And also special thanks to Marcus Hart and Transforming Media, the Disability Channel, and the PAC Channel for allowing us to be on their platforms. And would encourage everybody to go to our social media pages and groups and like, share, comment, and so on with those. And if you have any questions of anything that was said on the show, or maybe even being on the show yourself, you can give me a call at 715-303-9835 or email at Emily Gollmer, GOLLMER @iCloud.com, or you can connect with Kurt. Let Kurt give it his. Kurt, you want to say your info?
Oh, you didn't want to do it? All right, I'll go ahead and do it. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I take texts and calls at 262-372-1-SKI. That's 262-372-1754. And email address you're seeing visually on our live stream is abilitymkenow@gmail.com. And with the Disability Channel, I have the email address Kurt, KURT, @thedisabilitychannel.us. And over at Project iHeart, our veterans service organization nonprofit, Kurt, KURT, @projectiheart.org. And that's all. The Project iHeart is all about serving the issue of veteran suicide. And with that, back to you, Emily. You got a minute to win it. Good luck.
I think we are here every Saturday, same time, same place, every Saturday at 2:00 Central, 3 Eastern. Would love to have everybody join us. So if anybody is interested, to contact their Mayor Kurt for the link, and hopefully we'll see all of you at some point in the future on one of our shows.
And just real quick, I was giving Emily every last chance I could, but there's a very significant, oh, take it away, Emily. She got the OMG, EMG moment. So take it away, Emily. What is it?
Okay, so next Wednesday, I want to encourage everybody to save the date next Wednesday, as it is Kurt's 51st birthday. And encourage everybody to join us at whatever time during the day to help celebrate his birthday, even if it's just for a minute, just to say happy birthday, but to come on and help us celebrate the big day, as is the big national or global holiday that it is. So back to you, Kurt.
Well, that's a wrap, folks. It's been a pleasure. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Until next time, I'm